Content is intended to provide accurate information, however, is not intended as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult a financial, legal, or tax professional for specific information regarding your individual situation. Opinions expressed and provided are for general informational purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security.
Welcome to Game Plan for Retirement with Chris McIntyre. McIntyre Retirement Services, Northwest Ohio's retirement planning resource.
And welcome into the program. This is your Game Plan for Retirement with Northwestern Ohio's resource for a common sense approach to planning. He is president and founder of McInitire Retirement Services. Chris McIntyre, once again, here with us. And Chris, welcome back in. We appreciate your time.
Hey, Peter, good to be with you there. Hope everybody's doing well out there, given the new normal that we live in.
Yeah, it is like a new reality completely, Chris. It's surreal. Feels like one of the trailer episodes to The Walking Dead or something. I have not driven anywhere in like a month and a half, and it's just we're suddenly in a new world. And I know we'll come out of this, but for now, it's just different, completely different. And I do think that there's going to be some real and lasting change here, Chris. Would you agree?
I would certainly agree. I was reading somewhere one of the papers that I get up. I'm an early morning riser, as you know, Pete, and so I scour the websites and all that, try to get some insight and whatnot on where we're going. And they were even talking about getting rid of that middle seat on a lot of the airplanes so that there's more space in between flyers. And Pete, you and I got to fly every once in a while, go to conferences and whatnot around the country here.
That'd be a welcome change for me. I'm okay with that.
Man, I'm telling you, yeah. I mean, those planes are packed, and so but you think of the loss of revenue that's going to have on,
Yep.
And will they allow all the carry-ons and all those things? They may not carry on your germs and. But with restaurants and everything, until there's a true vaccine to this, how normal is normal. I'm not getting on an airplane. I'm not worried. I don't want to go to a hotel. I don't want to go to a restaurant and sit down there and, and that's crazy because those are things that are normal for the American way of life. I'm going to have to buy a new dishwasher. We've never washed so many dishes. And, in the last, couple of months here and eating so much at home, but I have lost about 7 pounds anyway. I will say that.
Yep. My diet has improved as well. I mean, eating out for me was kind of at least a once a day type thing. I don't know if it was breakfast or lunch, but at least one of the two. And then sometimes twice a day, because, every once in a while the family would go out to dinner and have not done that in more than a month. My diet has improved there. But yeah, the plane thing, Chris, I mean, you and I both a little bit germophobic there, and the amount of sanitation they did on those things was always questionable. But hotels and airplanes and anywhere where, you're in contact with the public, how is that going to pick back up? Not to mention the fact that there are already so many out of work. I think I saw the most recent figures surpassing 6 million in new jobless claims hitting the unemployment. And I don't think that's going to slow down.
Yeah, it's certainly the Federal Reserve said we might be looking at unemployment, as high as 30%. And that, goes back to an event that we had back in the 30s. And I'm not even going to name that event. And, as you know, Peter, the Federal Reserve is printing as much money as I think as they humanly can. And, at some point, you and I kind of shared this earlier today when we were discussing strategies and whatnot is, all right, what's the real price that these stocks and whatnot should be at had there not been gazillions and trillions of dollars inflated to, artificially, artificially, because at some point reality is what has to take over because, for folks like us that make investment decisions based off of the information and whatnot that's out there is, here comes an unemployment number and, here comes $2 trillion more on top of it. And like, okay, why don't they do that in every recession? Let's just go out and spend money to oblivion. And all right, the Federal Reserve will come out and knock the debt down, So, there's we obviously want recovery, but Peter and I know that some of this stuff comes at a cost at some point. It's either going to be record high inflation or they're going to make a bubble out of asset prices.
We can't print our way out of this problem. And the printing of money, while it's aimed to help short-term pain, Chris, I think you and I both agree it could be at the cost of a whole lot more long-term pain, or extending the pain. Maybe not even for our generation, Chris, but this is money that we're essentially borrowing from our kids and grandkids at the expense of some amount of future taxes that they're going to have to pay. So, are we entering into a recession now? That's one question. What's the ultimate impact of debt and inflation and taxes? How are all of these things going to play into this new reality that we are in? And then ultimately, bottom line, the question, how do I need to plan to address all of these factors? So I think a lot of material to cover on today's program. I do always want to remind the listeners, the viewers now, that Chris does offer the opportunity for a complimentary review of your plan for retirement, a strategy session. He can help you identify opportunities and strategies that you should be taking advantage of. If you'd like to take advantage of that time and that offer, all you need to do is pick up the phone and give a call, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. And Chris, maybe first let's address the short-term pain that these stimulus dollars are intended to help alleviate and address. We do need some help right now. I don't think we can ignore that factor.
Well, absolutely there, buddy. More Americans, and Americans want to help other Americans. And so, we certainly will give what can say the current administration to try to keep politics out of it. The Federal Reserve have been very active, both political parties, on getting money into the hands of the people that, by no fault of their own, became unemployed all of a sudden. Here I've got a buddy that, and our buddy Dave, who's been on the show here. He lives down there by the Honda plant in Marysville, Ohio, near the Dayton area, and they've laid off everybody, all their employees. They laid them off, and you think of all the support businesses that keep that going. The restaurant workers. We were talking about going out to eat dinner. Well, you can't. You can get carry out, but obviously, you don't need waiters and waitresses and bartenders and all that. And man, some of these folks, paycheck to paycheck is how millions of Americans start their careers.
And another part of that, Chris, is that a lot of people in that service industry, they were not necessarily on the same kind of W-2 payroll employment that many others are. So when these attempts to help the public are released, the stimulus checks, the Paycheck Protection Program for small business owners to incentivize them to keep employees on payroll, a lot of those folks aren't going to necessarily be counted, or be counted nearly at the rate of their true compensation before this. So they're still going to be hurting despite these measures.
Absolutely. And, that's a good point, Peter. Yeah. And, the law of unintended consequences and who falls between the cracks and all that's going to be the tough side of things. And, it looks like they're really ramping up some of these pieces here to get the money out to folks quicker. And, in all reality, how far does $1,200 go to the average American? And, I would assume there'll be some more of those payments, because we certainly don't want people to lose their homes. So yeah, we obviously support, the support that they're giving to millions of Americans.
Question for you on that, Chris. Question for you here. I know that Social Security recipients, that they haven't necessarily lost wages or income, but they are also going to be receiving that $1,200 stimulus check. If somebody was maybe in earshot of their decision to claim and collect Social Security, not working, but not yet filed for Social Security, should they go ahead and jump on that? They'll get an extra boost in that check.
Yeah, it's a good point. I guess it probably depends on the individual basis there. Does it make sense for folks? I had a Skype meeting. You and I are doing a Zoom here right now. To respect
all these new technologies.
Yeah, to do our social distancing here, and the gentleman I was talking to, the husband, wasn't sure if he should take Social Security yet or not. He was eligible to. He was 67 even, so he'd been eligible for a long period of time. And I'm like, two schools of thought. You don't need the money now, so if you delay and take it at age 70 because the wife is still working, all right, you're going to get a lot bigger benefit. Obviously, it's going to grow by 8% a year. They call those delayed retirement credits. The other school of thought is take it now. If you don't need the money, at least you can put it into an account, and then you'll have it in the future if something was to happen to you. So
Yep.
again, not right or wrong. One's not better than the other. It's an individual decision there, of course.
When we talk about the strategy session that you offer there at McIntyre Retirement Services, I know that there are kind of pros and cons to every single financial decision, but those are the type of questions that you help individuals work through, try to find a solution that's best for their specific set of circumstances.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where our skill set is, Peter. As we help people solve an array of problems, and it might not be an investment issue that they've got; it might be a tax issue that they've got. So, working with the CPA and making sure that, hey, are we doing Roth IRA conversions? Does this make sense? And do we have a long-term care plan in place just in case something was to happen, so we can look at that? Is your property and casualty insurance payments too high? And Heidi used to do that at our office. So she does a lot of reviews, and, it says, hey, you don't have an umbrella policy. You might want to take a look at that. Give your agent a call. Just a number of issues there. We do the income planning, the investment planning, life insurance, long-term care insurance. So, safe money strategies right now. Peter and I have been harping on this, man, for how many years, buddy? When the market was going up, we talked about having safe money strategies. So when the market is down, you can rely on your safe money strategy. And, it's never too late to consider some of these elements. And we're not talking about burying it out in the backyard, guys. We get it, but having the ability where you can keep up with inflation. Peter, you looked on, it was a couple shows ago. We were talking about bankrate.com. You found a 5-year CD. What was it? What was it paying?
0.48% interest for 60 months, Chris.
Yeah.
Not something that's going to be life-changing or even move a whole lot.
You're right, buddy. You should have to sign a disclosure saying, look, I realize I'm losing money to inflation by, putting my money here in an FDIC insured account. Yep.
Right.
So, we get it, guys. We do this for a living as well. And, coming up with income that used to come from CDs, that used to come from bonds when they paid better interest rates is a challenge for us as well. So, sometimes you have to think outside the box just a little bit there.
Well, Chris, I also know that there are solutions, there are specific products available. They are principal protected, not necessarily FDIC insured, but they've got other protections behind them that for that same 5-year period, I think actually the one I'm specifically coming to mind is a 6-year period, but it's a walk away. You walk away with your lump sum after 6 years, and you have no market-based risk, but you get 60% of whatever market increase there is over that 6 years. So could that be better than that 0.48% for 5 years? You bet it could be. You got to look for these kind of solutions.
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. And I know what you're referring to there as well. And yeah, that's been popular with our bond replacement that we've been doing here at in our practice as well, in pretty significant proportions, because, the only guarantee you get on a bond is if you hold it until it matures, you get your money back. If you sell it before it matures, or, you get into the craze selling that was going on there in about the middle of March there, bond prices swing all over the place. So, they've rewarded us, but they've also disappointed us, is probably a good way to say it here on the radio show.
Well, again, benefits and disadvantages to every single financial option, solution, strategy. You've got to weigh them for your personal set of circumstances. That's why Chris McInitire is here as a resource to savers and investors in Northwestern Ohio. If you've got questions or concerns, pick up the phone and give him a call. Talk through your market recovery action plan, your principal protection action plan, your lifetime retirement income plan. All of these are part of the service that he offers there at McIntyre Retirement Services. And as a service to you, is willing to donate his time if you're willing to invest a little of yours. If you're serious about your planning and your financial future, pick up the phone and give him a call. 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. So when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about the long-term consequences of this, Chris. Do we enter a recession? Is there going to be inflation? What is the tax implications of all of this stimulus money? How do we balance low interest rates and market market volatility. We'll talk about all of those topics when we come back here with Chris McInitire of McInitire Retirement Services on your game plan for retirement in just a moment. Give him a call, 800-868-1194. If you'd like to take him up on that offer, we'll be right back.
Visit McIntireRetirementServices.com for many additional valuable resources, including other great episodes of Game Plan for Retirement with Chris McInitire. Be sure to subscribe.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookzone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.